Hey all, Bynx here, and welcome to the official Marvel Snap channel, where I'm so excited to introduce to you Polaris, the Horseman of Pestilence. The 2 energy, 2 power card with the objective: cards in play are afflicted with -5 power, and the reward: put a card from your hand here. This is obviously an incredibly powerful effect, as the other way that you can see it in Marvel Snap is with Dragon Lord, which is a 5 energy, 5 power card. So for 3 less energy, you are able to get the same effect as long as you complete the objective. I think that this card is going to be an absolute game changer for Afflict, as you have this really powerful reward for doing a game plan that you already want to go through, and I really think that it's going to change the way that people build Afflict decks in the future. This new version of Polaris can do some incredibly powerful things, being able to pull giant cards from your hand as early as turn 2, as well as take advantage of the many locations that lower cards' power. The -5 power that you need to complete this objective can be either on your opponent's side of the field or your side of the field, and can be either permanent power or ongoing power, done through either ongoing effects or locations. Let's jump in and talk about some of the best partner cards to play with Polaris, as well as ways that you can counter it. To start, I have 4 of Polaris's, as I'd like to call them, best friends, cards that you will probably very often see play with Polaris itself. I think the Dragon Lord is going to see play in a lot of these decks because you want to have very powerful rewards from Polaris, and having redundancy in this effect is quite strong. Ajax takes advantage of the negative power that you're already sending across the board. We have the Infinite, which is just an absolute howitzer of 20 power to slam onto the board. And finally, Fin Fang Foom. Even if you don't have a way to spend 7 energy to summon this, you can pull it from your hand for free and completely dominate a lane. Next up, let's talk about some of the best ways that you can activate Polaris's effect. I think that there's a few different ways that you can build your deck to be able to utilize Polaris's power. It can either be through ongoing power from things like US Agent or from Man-Thing. You can also have cards that just hit a lot of different cards, such as Hazmat or Laufey. Hazmat at the end of the game is almost always going to guarantee that the Polaris will go off. And then things like Omega Sentinel always have that -7 power. And there's also a couple of other objective cards that you can use, including Caliban, Horseman of Pestilence, or Selene, Horseman of Famine. However, remember that you need to complete objectives at the beginning of the objective step. So you can't complete a Caliban objective, have it give negative power to the opponent, and then also have that Polaris go off in the same turn. You have to trigger them a turn before because of how the end of turn ordering goes. Next, let's talk about some counters to Polaris, whether you are trying to counter against the card or you're playing Polaris yourself and you know what to look out for. One of the main ways to do it is to turn off the effect. You can use things like Deafening Chord or Red Guardian, which both target it really well, as it is under 3 cost and quite low power. And then Cosmic Ghost Riders, you're often going to be playing it early into the front of lanes. It's always going to be a target for that. If you expect your opponent to have Cosmic Ghost Rider, try to make sure that you are getting the ability off by turn 4 to avoid it. Another way is that you can clog up the lane or just stop it from coming out. So you can clog it with things like Green Goblin to take up that space, or a sneaky one would be saving Luna Snow till the end of the game to utilize that Ice Cube that summons on your opponent's side to block off that card from coming down. And then you can use things like Professor X, which absolutely shuts down a lane, makes it so that you can't add a character there, or Stardust as this ongoing effect that can stop Polaris's trigger completely. And then of course you always have to be on the lookout for Luke Cage. I think that you should definitely have some cards in your deck that can inflict your own side of the board. Otherwise you're going to be really vulnerable to your opponent Luke Caging away that negative power and stopping Polaris from going off. And finally, let's look at the deck that I built to show off Polaris. I call this deck Big Afflict. It's kind of a hybrid ramp style deck that uses a lot of very powerful cards along with affliction strategies to not only damage our opponent's side of the board, but still play some big scary monsters. In the early drops, we have Silver Sable to be able to steal 2 power from your opponent's top deck, and thus if they play that card, you're getting 2 towards Polaris, as well as Scorpion to be able to hit your opponent's hand. So any card they play from that starting hand is going to be triggered onto Polaris. Hazmat, I think, is one of the best activators for Polaris because you are able to hit the entire board. Then we have Luna Snow here to give us the ability to get a bit of additional ramp to get to some of our bigger cards if we're missing ways to pull them out of our hand. We have Jubilee in here, as we have a lot of very large cards and we want to pull them out of the deck, as well as get a little bit of deck thinning. Laufey is one of our other activators. I think that holding Laufey until you have a lane that you can hit for the full 5 is really smart to make sure that you can kind of guarantee guarantee this effect to go off. We have Dragon Lord in here to hit some of our other giant cards. Ajax as just a way to play a massive amount of power and take advantage of the negative power that we're putting onto the board. We have Gore in here as we have plenty of on reveals and just felt like one of the biggest cards that we can play outside of the Infinite, the giant 620. You're almost never going to want to like skip to get this card out. You really want to try and hit it with either Jubilee or Dragon Lord or Polaris, as well as Fin Fang Foom, a card that can absolutely sweep up one side of the board. It's really good to get this pulled out of your hand, but we still do have the Luna to play it on turn 7 in a pinch. I think that this is a great starting point for a Polaris Horseman of Pestilence, and I hope that if you're grabbing the card, you give it a try and let me know what you think. My name's Bynx, and thank you once again for the opportunity, and enjoy some of the highlights of this deck. Noah, welcome to the stream, Noah. Welcome. Let's get Silver Sable cooking over here on the right. Get a card Afflicted and see what we can do there. So we see a Nightcrawler come down. I think we probably just set this Polaris probably over on the right, because like Dragon Lord or Laufey there is going to be like really devastating for our opponents to deal with. Moving that Nightcrawler over. Just getting excited for anything that's going to happen there. We get Necrotia, which does activate this immediately. Would you look at that? So we're going to get an immediate activation here. Honestly, all these cards are quite good. I tell you what, I don't mind a Foomler. I do not mind a Foomler by any means. This is a little bit weird because we don't have a great spot to like Laufey or anything. Like Laufey middle is pretty good. We're probably going to want a Dragon Lord middle next turn. So let's just get this Laufey cooking on the left. Then we can go Dragon Lord middle, kind of clear out our hand, and then take care of whatever else that we need. The Polaris, I mean, we got a Fin Fang Foom on turn 3. That is no joke. That is absolutely no joke. A Polaris on turn, or a Fin Fang Foom on turn 3 is a pretty darn good card. And I tell you what, I think we're going to get an Infinite here, so let's hit the dang old snap button. Getting that Fin Fang Foom is crazy. I mean, just like think about the power of this card, right? Like, you're getting a fair and playable 5-cost card for 2 cost. Just insane. And then we just get 39 power. 39 power! Why not on turn 5? I don't think that you have much else. I mean, I guess we are in... Man, we're not in a non-existent amount of trouble here, huh? It's kind of surprising that their debris is fighting against our Foom. I don't think that the Hazmat actually helps us at all, so we'll just play Luna Snow over on the right, try and get out ahead. Now, the cool thing about this Luna Snow on the right is that if they don't fill, we're actually giving them -2 power on top of getting 4 power of our own. Even Shang-Chi doesn't win middle, which is kind of cool here. Kind of a surprising thing that a Shang-Chi destroying 37 power isn't even going to be close. And okay, I won't play that Hazmat. That's fine. But yeah, Polaris, insane value. I mean, you're just seeing the value of pulling giant cards in your hand. Very good. GG's, Noah.